right. So I'm gonna start at this point, and then I'm going to rewatch the video, commentate on it a bit, then rewatch the whole video. Asmongold is absolutely correct here, by the way, just so you know.
These people do a tremendous disservice to the trans community.
No, it's a little bit
Binary and gender nonconforming students.
No.
Protects trans that this parent represents.
Right.
They're being bullied now.
Yeah, this is
That's
just
right.
stupid.
And this is the and the entire
if you just join, if you like, you're just watching from this aspect, you might not know what's going on. This person is saying that a trans person is being bullied because a parent doesn't want a boy in the a biological boy in the girls' locker room when they have a gender neutral bathroom for them to change in, right? Literally, this is being as fair as possible. I'm being honest. This is being as fair as possible, right, to trans kids, basically.
You have to understand that the entire worldview of these,
which I don't even really think is a thing, to be honest, as well, right? But also,
people is completely based around victimhood. It's based around victimhood and the ability to take on the mantle of the victim and then justify bad actions as a result of that. I hate these people. I think that these people do a tremendous disservice to the trans community.
They absolutely do. I mean, what the fuck is the point of this, right? This person is mad, right? That a trans boy, a trans girl, right, is not being allowed to change it with the same room, but there's a gender neutral bathroom that they are allowed to use, and they're not using it, right? If the point is to avoid bullying, then wouldn't the most logical solution, if there's only one in the gym room, right? For the person who would allegedly be bullied, wouldn't the most logical solution to be go to the room where there's only you? And that's the thing, it would be, right? There is no logic against that, and that's the issue here.
And the inclusion and the fixation on trying to indoctrinate and make trans issues accessible to and relevant to minors is such an unpopular issue that I think they are doing irreparable damage to the trans community, and they will cause people to straight up hate trans people.
Oh yeah, no, they're already doing it. It's like the Hogwarts Legacy boycott bullshit, right? It didn't help anyone who is trans. It made things worse. I don't like J.K. Rowling, but guys, you just attacked thousands of people. You got to understand that that's some bullshit, you know?
And it's already happening.
Yeah, anyway, I'm going to go back to the beginning, but yeah.
Hello, my name is Nicole Georges, and I'm here to demand that the locker rooms and bathrooms at District 109 be designated as biological male and biological female, as there already is a gender-neutral option.
Yeah, no, I don't see the issue here.
Girls want their locker rooms.
With what she's saying, I mean, they if they have a gender-neutral option, then just everyone who's trans, just use that. It's easy. It avoids confrontation, and that should be fine, you know.
And bathrooms back. They want their privacy back. This is why I'm here tonight. My 13-year-old daughter's well-being and mental health and privacy is at stake.
Also, I think this is a bit silly. 4 people with masks on, including I guess a security guard. This is 2025, right? COVID isn't even a thing anymore, really, right? Also, the masks are for if you're sick. Why are you Right. The masks were always for when you were sick. Like that, a lot of people didn't know that, but that's what they were for, right? Um, so like, are these people sick? I mean, I guess if they're sick, sure, but like otherwise, why are they wearing these fucking masks?
This nightmare
So you're telling me that they have a gender neutral bathroom, but they're still having them use the gender that they're not like assigned at birth?
Yeah, like, this is the stupid thing, right? Like, so like like ultimately, why do you want to specifically hang out? Like you're like a 14-year-old kid, right? Like at that point, it's like I'm pretty sure they're just causing issues because they're 14 and they're edgy, right? Like, are they even trans, or are they just an edgy 14-year-old kid, right?
So you already have? That's crazy.
began on February 5th when my daughter was using the girls' bathroom and was stunned that a biological male student was using it as well. She came home frightened and was extremely upset. I asked her to talk with her teachers and find out more information. She was told by the administration that a student can use the bathroom as well as a female locker room because they now identify as female. I was sent an email to the teacher.
Yeah, no, look, I'm trans. Now, thankfully, I have my own bathroom, right? So this makes it a lot easier for me. But, when I just have to use a public bathroom, it's very rare, thankfully. But I just use whatever one is, like, assigned for my... I don't pretend like any of that shit matters. I just go to the boys' room. I don't really see an issue with that. I don't really ever use it that often, but when I do, that's what I do, right? But that's kind of the thing, right? Like, the idea that, this whole, like, oh, I'm uncomfortable shit, like, I'm gonna be honest. That would be a thing if there wasn't already an option to avoid confrontation here, Like just use the system that exists to avoid the confrontation altogether,
Teachers involved and received a call from Principal Wegley. He verbally reiterated that under Joanna Ford's direction and their legal counsel that the student could use both the locker room and bathroom. I expressed that the school was in clear violation.
Oh, man.
A federal policy. The Trump administration issued an executive order restricting biological males from participating in sports and
You're talking
accessing.
about kids? What? Yeah, these are 13-year-old children.
Yeah, 13-year-old. Yeah, that makes me think like this is a troll too. This is the thing, right? Ultimately, it's not even like actual trans people most people have a problem with, right? Right? But okay, first off, let's look at the age group, right? When you were 13, you knew you were like thinking of some dumb shit like that too, right? So, if you were able to do that, you would. Do you think that the new generation got less edgy than the old ones? No. They're going to do that shit too. So, now, sure, maybe this kid is actually trans, but maybe they aren't. And because of that gender neutral option, there's no excuse to just avoid conflict there. Unless they aren't trans and they're stirring shit. I can pull it off as, hey, if they are trans, they wouldn't really want confrontation here. And if they're not trans, and that's what it is, then they shouldn't be in the fucking girls' locker room or bathroom, right? Right? Like, am I, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, the fact that they're not even trying to avoid conflict at all tells me that they're just doing this to be edgy and offensive. And that's not okay with this kind of thing, right? There are limits to what's okay. And it turns out that the limits effectively, end, right? Like those limits effectively end when you have a non-confrontational option and you're choosing not to use it on purpose.
Female
But also, like, it involves like actual fucking people, you know, like actual like people's lives, and like especially like nudity and stuff, because it's, you know, you're changing clothes, you're getting naked, you know.
locker rooms. That day, I filed a civil rights complaint on behalf of my daughter with the Department of Justice. It has now been referred to the Department of Education. A federal complaint has been filed with the district to protect the students. The situation went from bad to worse. A few days later, the male student was present in the girls' locker room. Feeling violated, the girls made the choice to not change into their PE clothes with a biological male student present. The next day, Assistant Principal Kathy Van Treese pulled the girls into their office, questioning them. The same day, Assistant Superintendent
Based, by the way.
Joanna Ford, Kathy Van Treese, and
I'll be honest, I don't think it's based at the. Oh wait, did they punish the student or did they question the other? I think they questioned the girls. I don't think that's based. I think he misheard what she was saying, because I wouldn't call that based at all, unless he's referring to a chatter.
multiple teachers all came into the girls' locker room, making them change into uniform.
Now, in my opinion, if this happened, and we don't know whether this is her accounting of it, we're not sure that this happened. But if it did happen, what do I always say? If you want a behavior to stop, you have to hold people accountable. Find out who the people are that made the girls do that, and then hold them personally, criminally accountable for sex crimes. This will stop overnight. This is actually such an easy problem to solve.
Yeah, no, like objectively, those teachers should be put in prison. I don't know about the kid, right? I think the kid should just be slapped. And said you have to use the gender neutral option. You know, like this is like they should avoid the fucking confrontation. Like, dude, like dickhead. You know, like just stop being a bitch. Right, there we go. We'll use the gender correct option. Bitch. Stop being a bitch. Stop being a bitch. Stop being a cunt. Right. There we go.
And I don't know why the Justice Department doesn't do that. This is radical, extreme behavior.
Yeah, I don't know either. They should. I'll be honest. They should.
It's beyond any normal comprehension. This is forcing, like, preteen girls to dress out in front of male students.
Yeah, and keep in mind this is Illinois, because something's going to happen that if this was in Florida, I could kind of understand it, right? But this is in Illinois, so keep that in mind.
There's just literally, that's disgusting. Well, if she's 13, then she's probably in middle school. And if she's in middle school, that means that it's probably 11, 12, and 13 and 14.
This went on all week with the addition of Ginger Laugerman. My daughter
So, wait a second.
all came into the girls' locker room, making them change into uniform. This went on all week with the addition of Ginger Laugerman. My daughter refused to take part in having her privacy being violated. How dare they?
Yeah.
She ran out and called for me for help. Principal Wegley answered was offering my daughter a new PE class. The answer was no. She is not changing for the remainder of the year, and she is not changing into another class. The girls just want their private.
Well, that's not a solution, because what if everybody wanted that to happen? Like, because if the solution is to have the people that aren't okay with it change into another class, well, then what happens when nobody else is okay with it? Then you only have the one class for this one person. You can't use that as a logical policy.
Yeah, like ultimately, you guys have to think, right? What is the point of this, right? And the way I see it, the point of this is I can't think of one. Right? Like I can't think of one where there's an option to avoid confrontation and they're not taking it. That is like any way charitable to the kid, other than like they're very mentally disturbed. But that's not charitable to the kid's parents then. So regardless, I can't really be charitable to the kid here that's in there that they're offended by, because they could easily avoid conflict by using the gender neutral option.
Privacy, and they want their locker room
By the way, like, based kid actually like standing up for themselves.
back.
But it's not just the one, right? Like it's like multiple of them, right? It's just the one mom is talking about it.
There are gender neutral options. This is my daughter's story and the story of many other young girls who have been forced at the difficult age.
And I think this is another big component to it that matters a lot, is that if you have gender neutral bathrooms, the only argument that I think has any water is that just from a functional perspective, they have to go into one place or another, so they have to go here, right? But that's not the case.
Yeah, like ultimately, there you go. Just use the gender neutral option. Like, avoid conflict. How is this hard for people?
Have a gender neutral bathroom, so they should just go there. The solution is literally right in front of them, and they're choosing not to go with this solution.
Yeah, no, like if you like ultimately, just avoid conflict. How hard is this for people to get?
To do something they know and most adults know is wrong. Do the right thing, Deerfield, and give these girls their locker room and bathrooms back. Allowing biological males to access girls' locker rooms sets a dangerous precedent that erodes the very foundation of female privacy and safety. By making this decision, the school board is not only
See, like I've seen it like in like schools that don't have a gender neutral bathroom, right? But there's literally no excuse here, right? Like in the other ones, it's like, okay, maybe because like they get picked on if they dress up like a girl and stuff, and they're in the boys' bathroom or vice versa. Maybe I can understand that, but there's already an option to avoid the conflict completely here. So why aren't we taking that one?
disregarding the concerns of young female students and making their families, but also establishing a legal and policy.
By the way, this is a topic that people choose to vote off of. So it doesn't matter what your policy is on Israel or Palestine or Ukraine or anything like that. If you're telling parents that their teen daughter has to dress out in front of a man, they're not voting for you.
Yeah, absolutely. They aren't. And people need to figure out optics matter here.
That's it. That's the end of the line.
Framework that will make it increasingly difficult to protect the integrity of female-only spaces in the future.
And I think that they should keep pushing this as much as they can. And like Trump was actually right about this.
Another thing, like I don't know, like he didn't comment on it, but I noticed it. That woman was pissed, right? Like rightfully so, to be fair. But you hear like that paper, like she got that up really like with a lot of force. She's fucking pissed too. So like that wasn't like for show. She just grabbed it in one foul motion, like one motion, and it just made that noise of how hard she was gripping against it. She's pissed, and again, rightfully so. Like if there wasn't an option, maybe there would be. So like I would still say she's rightfully pissed, but like maybe there'd be less right. I don't fucking know. But yeah, she's 100% in the right. Maybe she'd be 99.9 instead of 100, but still.
About bringing up these different issues like right before the midterms and the new elections, because anybody who is on board with this or even slightly like apologetic about it is immediately disqualifying themselves from office. This is, in my opinion, a single issue voter thing.
Yep. Like, ultimately, you gotta remember, like, people, like, yeah.
Tolerate? Yeah, if you tolerate this even 1%, I think that you are disqualifying yourself from being voted for by the majority of the population.
I remember this isn't even a rights thing because there's a fucking gender neutral option. Right? Like, I'm trans. This isn't affecting me, right? This isn't affecting anyone, right? If I had an option for gender neutral like places in a public place, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pick that one because that'll avoid all the confrontation that's possible, right? I often pick it anyway, like whenever there's one, even before I was trans, I would often pick it because yeah, like why not? It just you know, one, and they're usually smaller, so there's privacy too, you know.
That's it. No sympathy? Yeah, exactly. What did the Democrat person say in the video? Republicans are obsessed with identity politics. Well, that's the problem. And this is the issue, is that people get mad at Republicans for fixating on trans issues. Well, if this is such an easy issue and it doesn't matter that much, then why don't you just listen to what people are saying and apply that because it makes them more comfortable? So it's a very big self-report that people like this are trying to simultaneously make an appeal to triviality, but also won't budge on their initial perspective. If it doesn't matter, then why won't you change it?
Yeah. So for me, yeah, like just why, right? Now, like people are like, what? Now people do this like when it comes to entertainment products as well, which I don't really see. Like, if to change adds nothing, then why change it? Like for me, like pronoun options, right? They add nothing. They change nothing for you. They add something for some trans people. They subtract nothing from you. So that's why I'd say, why change it? Because it doesn't add anything to you or me. Really, I don't really care. But like it does add things for some people. So that change is like, okay, it's only a small amount of people will like the change. But really, like there's no real reason why you would dislike the change. It's like, okay, like why are you bothered about that, right? But this isn't a work of fiction. This is real kids, right? And this is real people, right? Right. This is why I don't really care about it in video games. But I do care about like things like this in real life, right? Fiction, right, isn't real, right? So someone fantasizing about playing like a big fat like a fat chick, right? Um, you know, let's like non-binary. I'm like, okay, go for it, right? Now you also have to make the game interesting if you're gonna want it to sell, right? Because that's really the thing with most of this. Most people don't really care about that, at all, unless like the game, sell. Like unless the game is interesting, like they're not gonna care one way or another anyway, right? But when it comes to like real life shit, right? You know, like trans people aren't gonna get too many dubs, right? The dubs are gonna be like 3 of them, right? The right to exist and transition as an adult, like those are 2 dubs already, right? And the third one, you might be able to get like you might be able to get it so like like you can have it like anti-bullying laws or whatever, right? But that's about it. That's those are the 3 things you're gonna get, right? Anti-discrimination laws, where like an employer, right, for hiring, right, like, and then like you can get this stuff if you pay for it, and you can exist. Those are the three trans rights that you'll like get that are exclusive to trans people. There you go. I've named them. And I'm a trans woman. I love trans rights, but those are them, right? Those are the rights, okay? Just so you know, that's what rights are. Rights aren't things like respect from everyone or dating someone or whatever, right? Those are privileges, right? Like an incel doesn't have the right to date anyone either, right? Those are privileges. You receive those later. Those aren't your rights, those are privileges. Remember that.
Well, because it does matter. And it matters more than anything if you have a young kid.
Yeah, like this is ultimately. I said this before. I feel like the more like they talk about kids, the more I like hate the own fucking trans community. I mean, I'm part of it, and I fucking hate it because like it's like all this. Stop it! Stop it! But you're not gonna win there. You're not gonna win there, or really on sports as much. I mean, like I said, maybe on chess and video game like tournaments. But that's about it. You know?
And also, the thing is that it is an indication of a worldview and a type of thinking. And that indication is something that I think like most people like, it's like flat earth, right? That's what I said. It's just like flat earth. Let them die on this hill? Well, yes. And by the way, people will kill you for this hill. Not literally, right? Metaphorically.
I think literally too, to be fair. If you spend too much time on it.
This will be the issue that you will get voted against on if you even pay any credibility to this whatsoever. Because like you're talking about like transgender sports, and that's like an 80-20 issue. This is transgender changing in their preferred gender locker room and the other students being forced to deal with it and not going to the gender neutral bathroom. Like that's like, in my opinion, a 95-5.
I'd consider that 100-0. Like if there it like 95-5 maybe if the option wasn't there. Right? Like I'll be honest, it's a very unlikely hill to win on even then. Although you could argue that just have the option there would be fine. But it's going to be a 100-0 if the option is there. Like no one in their right mind, you know.
5 issue. It's way more than 80% with this. Thank you. Everybody, yep, there it is.
Children's genitals.
Yeah, for real.
Why are you looking at children's genitals?
If this was Florida, she'd have had a point. But this isn't Florida. Oh wait, is that I'm talking about the teachers though? That might be what she's talking about.
Nice try.
Well, I don't know if it's like on like if that's for or against the mom's side, right? If it's for, right, then like she's talking about like the fucking teachers, right? And I would agree with her, to be honest. I don't know what like they're talking about here though.
Nice try. No, that's not going to work.
Again, like if it's Florida, right? Like Florida is a dumb thing, right? Now, I think that they changed it to just be the birth certificate, but initially it definitely was a pretty shitty bill where they involved like they would have to get like a fucking like basically like a full physical, like another physical, right? An extra physical, where they had their genitals physically inspected for just the gender part. Now, I would be like, why don't you just release that, like ask for a release from the physical, because they're gonna examine to make sure there's like no herniation or anything, especially in boys anyway. There, right? Like for the physical, right? At least that's what happened in all of mine. So if that's the case, then just the physical they would need to do the sport would already qualify of like seen in that, right? So I don't know like what's going on in Florida. Florida man is already memed enough upon, right? But yeah, yeah.
Nobody was born you when you were talking, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. We let you guys talk.
Back.
While they were talking.
Next name.
Nobody was talking.
We'll call our next participant, Charles
Excuse me,
Friedman,
if
please.
we can be respectful of everybody's time here, so.
Yes.
Did she even listen? Well, what they can do, so this is the problem, is that people that are like this, they have no foundation for any of their thinking other than emotional, illogical, stupid reasoning.
Well, to be fair, I don't know what she like. Was she talking about like the parent, or was she talking about the teachers, right? I mean, it would still be an emotional outburst regardless, but I'd argue that there would be like a legitimate reason for the emotional outburst if she was referring to the teachers. Because according to what I've seen, like heard, the teachers probably, like it sounded like the teachers were doing that. So is she referring to the board? To like ask why they were doing it, like to say your teachers were doing this. Why were you looking at because I don't know what the position of that woman was. I just know she said something that could be like, depending on who she's talking about, right? I would be either on her side because she's saying why are the teachers doing this, right? Or she's trying to like attack the mom, which like I don't think she is. I don't think she's looking at anyone's kids at all besides her own, right? So yeah.
So the only way that they can respond is by basically trying to misrepresent you in a way that's hyperbolic, that makes you seem like the dumb one. They have to, they misinterpret you intentionally.
Yeah, the left is guilty of that a lot. I don't know who that was or what they were responding to though. So I'm not really sure if they were responding to like the board to say why were the teachers doing it, or to the speakers who asked why the mother, who never mentioned any of that, was doing it, right? Different things,
I am happy to go after that one. Thank you, school board. From what I've heard, y'all are following the law, which is fantastic. My name is Charlie Friedman. My pronouns are they, he. I am a trans person. I am the parent of a trans middle schooler. I am also the director of operations for Trans Up Front. It's a nonprofit organization fighting for trans rights. We partner with over 30 major organizations, including the ACLU, Lambda Legal, HRC.
It's really shocking that left-wing people like pay any credibility to this at all. About like basically child grooming. Like, and I guess I like, when I see a person and they're trans and their kid that's like prepubescent is also trans, I assume that they got groomed to be trans.
Yeah, I didn't even know if like they are trans or if it's like they're saying that they're trans, like to groom them. Like this is the stupidest shit. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I do.
That's why I'm glad I don't want any kids.
I assume that they got raised that way, and it's the same thing as the other video. And I'm sure that there are cases where that's not true.
I'd argue that most cases it's not even necessarily true. They just, because it's a pro-trans environment, it just happens anyway. Like, the kid just becomes more okay with that in their head in the first place. I don't think it's grooming, because grooming implies intention, right? So just like, if just being around it does it, I don't think that would, cause anything, bad. But at the same time, right? Like, I agree, it is a little weird,
Oh.
But I don't necessarily think like that's an intended thing,
But I think that there's a lot of them where it is true.
It definitely is for some, though. I don't know. I guess you could argue a lot, right? For like, depending on like what you mean by a lot. Like most of them, or like just like 10% would still be a lot, right? 5% even. So still.
etc. We have a protest coming up for trans rights on March 30th, 1 p.m., Federal Plaza. We have and I would like to take a moment to talk about Illinois. We're all very lucky to live in a state that protects everyone here. Specific to today, Executive Order 2019-11, which my kid was standing next to Pritzker when he signed. Yes,
And by the way, there are already other permutations of this that exist, things like Munchausen by proxy. And it's very common that stuff like this happens. So the idea that parents would not indoctrinate their kids in order to have some sort of worldview or behavior is just simply based off of nothing. Kids get indoctrinated into politics. They get indoctrinated into...
Yeah, like it's super... I don't... Like, it's not even necessarily something that you do on purpose, though. It's the only, like, issue there. So I wouldn't call it grooming, because like I said, grooming is intentional, right? You can't accidentally groom someone.
Religion.
Like a good way to say it, right? It's not like Ava Chris Tyson accidentally groomed minors, right? That was all on purpose, right? They chose to do that, right? If it was all accidental, no one would fucking care, really, except like maybe like 5 people. But that's not what happened, right? Like if it was all like accidental, it was just like, okay, the lolly stuff, like was on the screen, and Mr. Beast didn't really care, and so like maybe someone got into lolly that wouldn't have been, or like because Ava is trans, she might not think of anything wrong with like the way she's raising her son, which I don't even think there is. Like, I don't think she's doing anything wrong, but I'm just saying, like, people are definitely going to be critical. I don't really care, to be honest, if people are critical of the way you raise your kid. And it's not like you're actually damaging of the kid, then fuck them, right? I will say that Ava talking to a 13-year-old kid in a camper van, though, that was intentional, right? That's the issue, right? The constant sex jokes around minors in her Discord, that was intentional, right? Like the lolly, okay, it's like that was unintentional, and anything with our kid probably unintentional. But the stuff that was like in the Discord, that was all intentional, and that's where like I draw a line, right? So I don't really care too much about Munchausen by proxy, to be honest. Like, but still, that's not really the issue really here anyway,
They get indoctrinated into like a social system. To say that they're not being indoctrinated into a gender ideology, and to say that this is impossible, is the most illogical conclusion that you can possibly have.
Yeah, my thing is, I just don't really I don't really think like that it matters that they will be, but I do agree that they probably are. I just don't feel like it matters there. But what does matter is like the stuff like that first woman, right, introduced a lot of stuff that's like, yeah, you definitely shouldn't support what's going on in that category, at least.
It's completely illogical.
Executive order from the governor. And in that order, it's called Strengthening Our Commitment to Affirming and Inclusive Schools, which protects trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students from the type of bullying, that this parent represents.
They're being bullied now. That's
Yeah, like this is where like I went back. And yeah, bullying from what?
right. And this is the
And this is the like he said this guy or like this type of parent. This guy is the one bullying them. He's representing the the bullies. And, like you pointed at him, right? He pointed at him, right? Or is that they they pointed at him, right? I don't think he's like responsible for the bullying at all. I'm just saying.
and you have to understand that the entire worldview of these people is completely based around victimhood. It's based around victimhood and the ability to take on the mantle of the victim and then justify bad actions as a result of that.
Yeah, and another thing, like when it comes to people who actually are victims, it tends to muddy the waters for us getting help. Like I am a victim of a lot of things: sex abuse, financial abuse, and all that. Right, all sorts of shit. And I have a trouble getting help because people like this asshole like exist. Right. You know, like it's not just trans issues. Obviously, it's a lot of things, but people like this asshole right here. Like, I'll respect your gender identity and call you a dick, and but still, like, you're a fucking bastard.
I hate these people. I think that these people do a tremendous disservice to the trans community.
No, they absolutely do. Like I said it before. I already covered this part, but yeah, they absolutely do.
And the inclusion and the fixation on trying to indoctrinate and make trans issues accessible to and relevant to minors is such an unpopular issue that I think they are doing irreparable damage to the trans community, and they will cause people to straight up hate trans people. And it's already happening.
Yep, it is. And it's going to continue to get worse, as you know.
And I feel bad for average adult trans people who just always felt like, oh, I'm the opposite gender. I'm going to go through a transition surgery. And they just want to live their life through the opposite gender. And they unfortunately get lumped in with these extremists, these radicals, these psychos, and in a lot of cases, I think groomers. You have parents saying that they knew their kid was trans before their kid could talk. No, they didn't. That's probably child abuse.
Yeah, like it's probably, absolutely. They like it's not even a probability there. No, you didn't. Exactly, it was abuse. He's being more charitable than I am. It was abuse.
It's insane. They're radical lunatics. They are. They're radical lunatics. And the problem is that these people are caricaturing, like, trans people have like an extremely high rate of suicide. Obviously, it could be due to like underlying gender dysphoria. But I think another reason why trans people kill themselves a lot is because they're not accepted in society. And I think that these people are doing so much damage to those people that are just trying to live their life in a way that they think is authentic to themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. I 100% agree there.
And I think that's what's really sad about it, is that you have these people and they're just totally destroying it. It's like forcing your kid to go to church. I think this is a bit worse. It's not society's fault. I don't know. I think that what I'm saying, I think there's some relevance to what I'm saying. I do. And I do. Like it's common sense, right? If you have like if you have a big piece of your identity that a lot of people actively deny and hate, then that is going to make your experience as a person worse.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Now, I learned to put up with it. I had to spine up on a lot of cases, but yeah. But that's beside the point, right? Like, the fact that I was able to spine up, it doesn't make it, like, easy, right? It means I toughened up. It doesn't mean, like, it was easy. But at the same time, right? Like these people like don't make it easier, right? Now, do I think they're necessarily a groomer? I don't know, right? I don't know if that's intentional with this person. I haven't really heard enough to say it's intentional. Like, it's probably like Munchausen by proxy. I wouldn't call that grooming, though, right? Like, just like I don't even really think like having your kids go to church is, grooming, right? Like for me, like that should be like child abuse only, right? And taking your kids to church isn't child abuse, Like I don't agree with that idea. Like if you want your kid to have a certain religious background, yeah, and even then that's intentional, but I still wouldn't really consider that grooming either because it's not sexual, right? Like that's the thing. Grooming has to be sexual, and it has to be on purpose, kind of thing, right? Like a little like a 14-year-old kid, right? Looking at like the like sneaking his dad's magazine thing, and then like finding out they had some big titty magazines, and then like he's got a 10-year-old like brother or sister that he shares them with. I wouldn't call that grooming because he doesn't even know what the fuck he's doing. He just knows he likes titties, right? But like if it was like a 20-year-old, right? Like if the dad themselves, right, just showed it to the kids, that would be grooming, right? But that's because, he knows better. It's sexual,
Is it that crazy to say? I
Like
see
that's my thing. Like I think Hooters is grooming when it comes to like stuff like that, right? Hooters and like those trans bars and stuff. If you take kids to that, that's grooming. Like all of it. It doesn't matter if it's gay or trans or straight. That's all grooming,
little difference between the trans that want to live their lives and these aggressive lunatics. Ultimately, gender dysphoria is a mental disorder, which is an unhealthy mental condition. It should not be enabled. I think that an adult should be able to make their own decisions on what they want to enable and what they don't want to enable for themselves. Because
also, like, the idea of enabling mental illness is kind of stupid. Because like that just shows you that they don't know how to treat mental illness when they say that. A lot of mental illnesses, the only way to treat it is kind of to enable it, So I disagree that like it's not just trans stuff that people do that with. Dementia and like Alzheimer's, for example. Like there's a lot of different like forms of like of those that where like the treatment is literally to kind of just go with it, right? So the idea that is a thing, like I kind of disagree. Like that it depends on the issue. Like there's tons of mental disorders where going with it is actually part of the treatment. Depends on the one, but there are some, yeah.
you're a free person, you're a free American, you should be able to decide that as an adult. But the difference is whenever you involve underage people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the big issue that we're talking about here, and that's the big problem.
And I used to be like more like okay with it, but nah, I've changed my mind. I'm like, nah, get that fucking shit off. And a large part of it is like people on the trans community that just are vehemently for it for whatever reason. I never got that. Like they're so vehemently for it. They're never like, okay, I'm for it, but kind of a little. It's always like this vehement, like this militant response, It's never like I like it. It's like this, like you gotta like battle about it. Like what the fuck.
Also, under the Illinois Human Rights Act, Section 3B-1, the use of restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms may not be restricted based on a student's physical anatomy or chromosomal sex. A student must be permitted to access restrooms or bathrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms that align with their gender-related identity and without having...
If that's what the law is, then that's what the law is. But I think the real question is, why is the law that way and why isn't it being changed right now? Yeah, so it's a stupid law. I don't know if you guys know this, but all laws are made up. They're not real.
Yeah, like law, like I think like Linus Torvalds said it best. Laws are written on paper. I use paper to wipe my ass. That's how much that paper is worth, right? So what he's saying is like, if I don't like the law, that the law isn't worth shit to me, right? And that's anyone, right? Like every single person, no matter what the law is, if they don't like the law is worth shit. So the law doesn't matter there, you know? Now, in my opinion, if someone isn't harming anyone, if they're fapping a lolicon and not abusing kids, or they're or furry porn and not abusing animals, or whatever, right? But they're not really abusing anyone by doing it, right? Who cares, right? But like I always say it, right? Vor, right, is a fetish I love. But when people like do it in real life, I'm like, dog, get the fuck away from me, you fucking weirdo, you fucking psycho, right? Like those channels where they eat live like fucking like mice and shit. It's fucking disgusting, right? Well, I guess like that existed at one point. I don't think they're allowed anymore, but those existed at one point. And yeah, like that's just disgusting. Like, look, you can. I love the art of it, right? I'm very much a pro Vorny guy, but you need to have like some standards, and IRL is where that ends, you know. And like lolicon, right? Very much okay in my opinion because it's drawings, but as soon as you involve real people in any way, yeah, fuck you. Is it like like this? Like should be like kind of easy, right? Like furry art, fantasy, fine. Not fantasy, you need to go to prison, right?
You just change the rules. So if there's a rule that's stupid, you get rid of the rule. I feel like that's okay, great. So she found the thing that we should change. Federal law trumps that? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
Nah, sadly, I think state law trumps federal law thanks to the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. But that doesn't mean I'm okay with it trumping it in this case. I'm just saying, like, legally, federal doesn't actually trump state usually. There's a few policies, like, involving, like, national security, like immigration, for example, where that is the case. But in most of the cases, it's usually 10th Amendment gives states rights to basically disregard federal law, as long as it's not a constitutional amendment.
But there shouldn't be a state law that even says it in the first place.
To provide documentation or other proof of gender. Under this act, and it is stated, the discomfort or privacy concerns of other students, teachers, or parents are not valid reasons to deny or limit the
What is this here? Let me listen to that again.
provide documentation or other proof of gender. Under this act, and it is stated, the discomfort or privacy concerns of other students, teachers, or parents are not valid reasons.
So people's discomfort is not valid, but your discomfort is valid. Who decided that?
Yeah, who decided that? I feel like getting into Escanor territory there. It's stupid.
Oh, that's right. You did.
I mean, everyone's going to, right? My pain is always going to be better than other people's pain, right?
I think we should have a vote on this. We'll see we'll see who's more of each group, huh? How about that?
I think like everyone's going to like either put their or their kids' pain above everyone else's, you know? Like if everyone is like their option or everyone else's, right? And that's like the vote. Everyone's gonna choose your own pain, but like like if that was those are the options of voting, like your pain, your own pain, versus everyone else's, right? But yeah, this is basically like the downfall of a lot of like the left and wokeism in the first place, right? It's not that people don't really respect you, it's that they don't like, they want you to respect them as well most of the time, you know?
To deny or limit the full and equal
Yeah.
use of those facilities based on a student's gender-related identity. Instead, any student, teacher, or other individual seeking more privacy should be accommodated by providing that individual with a more private option upon their request. Sounds like that would be a great option in this case for your kids.
The problem with that is what happens when too many people want that and then it breaks the system. That's the issue with what this person's bringing up, is that basically if you have a situation where you can request to change privately, if everybody requests to change privately, there's an overwhelming amount of people in those private spaces and the system can't function. You understand?
Yeah,
And
like,
so,
you want to know, like, how do you fix that? The people who are kind of disrupting the system to make everyone want to change privately in the first place, change privately. Or basically what we were all, like, kind of saying from the get-go, like me, Asmongold, and the mother. Yeah, just have them use the gender-neutral bathroom. Instead of, you know? Like, that's why it's there. It's just avoid the conflict altogether and have the trans kid use the gender neutral bathroom. And there you go. The problem is solved instantly.
so you have a group of, like, let's say this is a class, right? So you have a class of 30 to 50 people contorting around one person. Any logical person would immediately say that that one person is the person who should be in the private room.
Yeah, absolutely.
But somehow that's not the case.
Ali, I love your hair.
I mean, it's easy to spot me on the court, I bet.
But you've always been like that. See me?
Yeah.
Before you hear me.
Why are they directly allowed to confront other speakers in clearly hostile way? Nobody's being violent. Everybody's being civil here. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I don't really see anything hostile yet. I unless that one person from earlier, I haven't seen much hostility, you know?
Don't point us out.
Maybe I'm kind of tired, to be fair, so maybe there was some from like one of the people there, but I don't really know.
Do not look
Excuse me.
So the
excuse
whole
me,
audience is that direction.
Excuse me. It's his time to talk, right? So
Thank you.
that, but don't
So if needed, we'd be happy to dig in, to contact our coalition, to make sure that the board is supported in doing the right thing for the right reasons and following Illinois state law. If you need my assistance.
And this is always what it leads back to, is that it's being on the right side of history, having the right opinions, and this appeal to some sort of amorphous form of virtue that's never really defined. That's basically how it is.
Yeah, it's always stupid.
Please do reach out. It's transupfrontil.com. Thank you.
thank you.
Yep. And you can see all the people clapping for this. There's a lot of people that are happy about this. And so what you have to do is, I think that more people need to be outspokenly against this, and they need to push back against this publicly so we can stop having our asylums run by the inmates.
To be fair, the thing that's weird with that, like, those are parents and stuff, right, that are all doing that, right? Not teachers. So I'm kind of weirded out by that. I honestly, don't know how there's like so many fucking like parents in support of this specific thing. And the reason why is like because of how simple it is to just solve it. But yeah, the thing already exists there. That's my thing, right? Like, if this was to put one in like, if the bathroom wasn't there and this was to put one up, right? to avoid this stuff, right, I would be 100% on their side. And I would understand why everyone was clapping about it, right? But honestly, I can't really get myself to understand this one. Like, what?
These people are insane. They are insane if they think that it is a reasonable perspective to have that children should be dressing out in front of the opposite gender and it should be enforced by the school administration.
Yeah, like...
This is... And the problem of what happens is that the people that have these viewpoints are very, very outspoken and free about having these viewpoints. And the people that aren't are afraid of getting in trouble. And they're afraid of, like, you know, these people, like, maligning them as a transphobe, trying to systematically destroy their life. I think that there needs to be a much bigger group of people that put out a very observable and very demonstrated expression that these people are the fringe, tiny minority. They are extreme radicals, and they should be treated this way.
Well, the thing is, right, like, I think Critical talked about this with the Karens in, like, 2021. Like the people who show up to parent-teachers conferences, right? Like, like, these, like, not too many people do anymore, right? It used to be, like, every parent was involved in them, and now, like, really... I'm going to be honest, a lot of this is that parents aren't really spending enough time paying attention to their kids' lives in the first place. Unless it's like some very passionate political thing. And that's about it, right? So obviously the people unsupportive are going to be like more on for it here. And there's going to be a couple people negative here, right? But then the rest of the parents, it's like, they aren't even involved in their kids' conversations, right? And that's really an issue too, right? Like, I feel like I've said this before, like, I've even said it on my own channel. People need to stop having the iPad and the Xbox be the babysitter of their kids, right? Like ultimately, you are the parent. You should be involved in your kid's life. Like, I'm gonna be honest, the onus of, like, why this is happening is that the parents aren't giving a fuck about their kids, right? The ones that give a fuck about their kids are here, right? So we have, like, 10 pro-trans people and maybe 1 or 2 non-pro-trans people. And that's the entire, like, amount of parents. Hundreds or even thousands of parents. And there's, like, 12 of them here. That's the real issue, right? That most of the parents don't even fucking give a fuck about their kids. Like, it's not even like what side they're on. It's that most of them aren't here, which means that they don't give a fuck about their kids. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that ultimately means.
That's the problem. You can't speak against it, at least you can for the last 4 years. Well, that's why you have to make sure that never happens again. And so I think it's extremely important for everybody to speak out against this, because the people that are in favor of it are doing it with impunity. And one of the advantages that they have is that they do have, in a lot of cases, I would say, is it structural advantages, systematic advantages where they can work to destroy a person's credibility or their life by disagreeing with these things. They have institutional power that they can exercise. So the way that you do that is that you show that institutional power is an extreme minority. And if you do that, then it goes away. I live in a very liberal area. Not being allowed to speak your mind has been a thing for decades, not just recent. Well, the reason why is because people let that happen. And I think that if you want to stop that from happening, you have to actively oppose it. And that's why I make videos about this kind of stuff, and I talk about it, and I'm very matter-of-fact, plain English about this stuff. I think these people are insane, and I think that a lot of them groom their kids to be trans because that's what they want them to be. I'm sorry, but if you have a kid and the kid can't talk and they're underage and they don't even understand what sex entirely is, you have no business telling them or deciding whether they're trans or not. That's
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, if it's like 15, 16, sure, but like we're talking about like 3 a lot of times, you know?
insane. And
Sometimes even like months old, you know?
child abuse. Yeah, it's sick. And more people need to come out and say this before.
Like there are people who will do this like when they've spent more time in the womb than out of it even. And that's pretty scary. Like they'll be like 5 months old. That like
or before it gets worse. And the people who really should be saying this more than anyone are moderate Democrats, because these people will alienate average, reasonable, like middle of the road independent voters. And if an independent voter looks at this and they say, who's right? The person who wants to force children to change out in locker rooms in front of their, their parents, or sorry, their in front of the opposite gender, or the person who thinks that this one person who is, underage, who doesn't even entirely understand. If they're 13, right? That means, and this is Illinois, if you're 13, you're in 7th or 8th grade, right? Unless you're either, unless you're really smart. And so you're in middle school. These people haven't even completely gone through puberty. They haven't even completely gone through puberty, and you're telling them that they have to do this. This is outrageous. And so crash out's a dangerous precedent. It is. It's an extremely dangerous precedent. And this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, like another thing, I could understand like people like starting to have like weird gender dysphoria thoughts and whatever after puberty, right? But they're not going to have it pre-puberty, right? Because like a lot of that stuff happens because you haven't gone through puberty yet. Right? I mean, you've gone through puberty, right? And like the hormones are raging, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of that happens because of raging hormones. So if you haven't gone through puberty, you're not going to have these thoughts at all, right? Like at all,
A growing number of the gay community have been speaking out against this. Yeah, and I feel bad for you guys, because a lot of you guys just want to fuck other dudes in the ass and get married and be left alone. I know, I get it. That's fine. And I'm okay with that. You want to fuck other dudes in the ass and be left alone and get married? That's fine. And it's disappointing that you guys are getting fucked by these people, because they're trying to use your cause as they're trying to coattail your cause that is, in my opinion, a noble cause. Why marriage? Because I think the state should I don't think that a priest should have to marry gay people. I don't think so. But I think the state should have a marriage system where if you apply for a marriage license, it's granted to you by the state between two people, regardless of their gender.
Yeah, like, to be fair, like, this is the thing, right? Like, for me, marriage, like, the real thing is marriage, when it comes to, like, the tax benefits, sure, we can have that be just for straight couples with children, right? But when it comes to, like, like hospital visitation rights and stuff, it just, like the whole thing with civil unions that boggled my brain was like hospital visitation rights weren't a thing, right? So if you were like a gay couple, hospital visitation wasn't like a thing you were allowed to have, right? There's a lot of things you were allowed to do, but hospital visitation wasn't one of them,
And the reason, so civil union, I would be okay if they were only allowed to have civil unions, but the reason why I'm not is because civil union doesn't contain the same type of, like, for example, like end-of-life rights are much broader.
Like when it comes to like passing on with like will and stuff,
In a marriage than in a civil union. So you would have to make them completely equal. But in the case where a marriage is different and provides more rights, then a marriage is something that every American and every adult American should be entitled to.
Right. I think like the tax rate should be for having children, right? Like if we're gonna go with like the whole Ben Shabibo like marriage should, then just have that just be the tax rates then. Like because I like at the end of the day, the real reason like most people wouldn't be able to have that anyway, right? For them, like outside the like the most people would ever really get, right? Would be like the hospital visitations and the will passing, right? That's what most gay people want, right? So there you go. That's what you have. You have the right to pass someone's name in their will and visit them in the hospital when they're really sick and they need a few days in the hospital. The things that are non-government tax funded things that you actually don't have in a civil union for some reason, for whatever reason. I don't know why. But they should, right? Because I don't really care about like the word marriage if you want to have that or whatever. Or like a lot of those tax benefits that you really only have if you have children anyway. So, yeah,
Because you shouldn't be discriminated on based off of your sex or your gender. Marriage is from God. It stopped being from God when the state decided what marriage was. It's also from the state of Texas or the state of Illinois. There are two different versions of marriage. There's the state idea of marriage, and there's the religious idea of marriage. And I already very clearly explained that the religious idea of marriage they are not entitled to, because that compels labor from people who do not want to do that. And I think it's a violation of their religion. But if there is a state definition of a state definition of marriage, then every person should be entitled to that regardless of gender or orientation.
Yeah, I agree, right? I don't really like if there is like extra benefits for the religious version, for example, then sure, right? Maybe that's how we do the tax benefits for having children and stuff, right? The religious version, and then the state version, you get the whatever just for the couples. I guess maybe there's still tax benefits for couples, but not for child rearing. And then you also have the hospital visitations and will and testimony, and there you go.
And I can't see a single argument against that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. I don't see a single. But and here's what's really disappointing, right? I could have said this 10 years ago, and everybody would be spamming based, and nobody would be disagreeing. But now, because of these extreme radical psychos, now we're seeing people celebrating the repealing of what I believe to be core foundational civil rights. And it's really dangerous to see this happen. And I feel bad for a lot of the gay people, bisexual people, and even moderate trans people that want to live their life in privacy.
Woo! Yeah, baby. Sorry. But yeah, no, I agree. Like this crowd is just like, you know what the worst part is? I used to sympathize for this crowd when I was younger, right? And I just can't find myself doing it anymore, right? I'm just you know what I mean? Stop it, I can make fun of people that you also don't don't like you, and still say, you need to stop it, because here's the thing, Paul Joseph Watson, Elon Musk, and all that. I'm not just making fun of them on these takes. I'm making fun of them for all the other doofy shit about them, right? So you know what I mean? I don't even think I've ever touched a lot of these people's trans takes except for yeah, I haven't, have I? Yeah, I don't think I have. I think I touched obviously Asmongold's today, and then that one VTuber that was kind of unhinged that got mad at me for saying like you shouldn't harass people who are into lolicon in your audience, and calling them pedophiles and shit, and then like have like your child grooming shit like that you support. And I think that's actually it. I don't think I've actually talked too much about like people with bad opinions on trans people that much, to be honest. Or like bad or good opinions on trans people. You know, like I don't know. I don't really think I should, right? I feel like at this point, like, you know, I just don't really care anymore, you know?
That these extremists are caricaturing their entire movement as weird groomers. It sucks. It really sucks. And I want you...
Like, there are gay people who do this, too. It's not really... Like, I feel like it's not the T's, it's these T's. It's not the G's, it's the G's that are, like, wearing dildo costumes at pride parades half naked in front of kids, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's not all of any of the groups. It's a small portion of each of them, right? Because ultimately, like, none of these groups, like, are all that. But all of them, like, have members here, there, or wherever, you know?
You guys to know that I'm on your side. But what I want you to know even more is that these people aren't.
Yeah, no, I agree. They aren't. They need to be called out because this is fucking stupid.
These people will destroy your movement. They will caricature you as freaks and pedos, and they will make everybody hate you.
I don't really care about a freak, but a pedo, you know, that I do care about being misappropriately labeled as, you know. Because, like, a freak, right, it's like, okay, I am a gooner, yeah, okay, fair. But, yeah, the other one, yeah, absolutely, like, that's fucked up, right? And I get it, like, you know, there's probably, like, some bigots that'll say that anyway. But most people aren't like that. That's ultimately the thing. There's probably, like, a couple people here or there that'll be like that, but most people aren't.
And they've been doing a great job at that. That's it. They went too far? This is way too far. J.K. Rowling made a great tweet a while ago why Democrats will not back down on this issue. I don't know what that is. You can say it, there's no argument, but what happens whenever a kid has two dads or two moms? I think it fucks up the kid, to be honest. I don't think that you could apply that reasoning to other things. So I disagree with you, but I was thinking about why I disagree. I disagree because what you're then advocating for is for parents to demonstrate that they're fit to be parents. And maybe that is a good idea. But I don't think that should begin and end with gender. So, like, for example, like, what about a single mom? What about a parent who doesn't make a lot of money? I think if you use that argumentation and you apply it to other situations, I think it falls apart. And so that's the reason why I don't agree with it.
Yeah, like ultimately, like here's the thing, right? If you're not abusing your kid, then I can't really say anything against you, right? When it comes to stuff, right? So, like, these people, like I don't even know if these, like, ones, right? This one particularly, though, I can. Maybe these people, like, they don't, like, they're just being yes men for the conversation, but they kind of secretly, like, are like, it's a little insane, bruh, to him, right? So that might also be a thing. We don't know. Like, there's probably, like, some union, whatever. That's why they're not really, like, speaking over him, but they probably disagree with him too, you know what I mean? Then that's kind of a thing too, you know? You gotta remember, like, not all the, like, a lot of these people, like, they nod because they feel like their rights are being defended, but they're, like, secretly, a lot of them are thinking, fuck this pedo piece of shit representing us right now. Why couldn't I have gone up there and said something more reasonable than this asswipe? Right? Like this guy, I bet you he's thinking that right now. Like, this guy looks like he's like, look, I'll be honest, like, this guy's a fucking weirdo.
I'd have to have a better argument than that. Yeah, divorced parents. Yeah, that's another example too.
Yeah.
That's different though. The fuck? Everything's always different, but things have degrees of similarity, and I think that's a degree of similarity. Genetics too? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I saw this before, and you can read some of the comments about this. Let's read some of the comments. Deerfield middle school administrators forced teen girls to change in front of a girl locker room. Here they are. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Who could have guessed that?
How did I guess it would be white women?
It is another council of Karens. Another council of Karens that are looking for a new way to virtue signal about how they're good people. This is amazing. How does it keep happening? The usual suspects. Yes.
I'll be honest, I think like these people are ruining every... Because here's the thing, right? That one person, right, was enabled by these three, basically, right? So I feel like the Karens are enabling like people like that, right? Like not her, like the person who was at the podium, that was a dude, a trans dude, right? So like when it was a trans dude, imagine the trans dude is still up there. These three are like enabling that behavior, which is what causes it to get worse. Instead of just saying, look, I'll be honest, buddy, like we like you, we support you, but like tone that shit fucking down. Like we've already given you plenty. Tone that shit down. Or we'll have to like fucking, say something more about it. But no, instead, it's this, right? And then they're even like getting involved, not just enabling, but getting involved, right? Arguably, these three Karens are more pedophilic, right, than the trans dude that potentially grooming his kid, because these three are literally like staring at little girls' vaginas and the trans girl's penis, You know what I mean? Like these three are staring at genitals, and then like the trans dude is probably like, because this is the thing, right? A lot of it is like kind of like brainwashing that's like cyclical too, right? So like, because that's really how the woke mob works. It's not really like one person does it. It's like, so maybe this person's like, they're like imagine we'll just use this to say, right? This person saying, hey, my kid is, seems to think like they're trans like me. Yeah, like they look up to me, and that apparently that makes them think they're trans like me. And then like these like three Karens are like, well, no, they're just like you. They are trans, right? So, oh, wow, okay, so like they don't just look up to me as a role model and like think highly of me. They just are me. And you're like, yeah. Also, they should use the same bathroom as the opposite gender. And so he's like, wait, what? Like, and then like they try to like do stuff. Yeah, it's totally normal, right? Like, and then like that convinces him, right? And he's like, okay. And then like they kind of like slowly like through these organizations too, right? A lot of them are run by like a lot of these people, right? Like, so, like, that dude, right, is, like, head of, like, a minor, like, organization. But, like, when you really think about ACLU and all that, that's run by, like, these people, right? So, a lot of this conversation is driven by Karens, right? And it's, like, so fucking many, right? Where, like, they drive it off the fucking cliff. And then everyone has to suffer, And it's always stupid. It's always something stupid. Like the Me Too movement was an example of it as well. Yeah. Like honestly, like I don't even know who to blame the most. I'd argue the Karens, right? Because actually, no, I will say the Karens, because these are the ones that are doing like the whole like stare at kids while they change bullshit. Yeah, no, fuck these three. These three need to go to prison. Like, I'll be honest, these three need to go to prison. Just fuck them, right? The kid needs to probably like be slapped a bit, right? Just get the fuck out of that idea out of your head. And the person, like the trans dude who was on the podium there, probably needs to like, just be like, probably just needs some, like, I'm be honest, it probably isn't even that bad. They probably just need like some like therapy and stuff to like learn to fucking talk right, and also like be like have those organizations like a bit investigated, but not necessarily like investigated doesn't necessarily mean like they'll find anything bad, right? But investigated like all the staff to make sure like none of that is happening. Look at all the look at money, maybe like a lot of it's from this and as well. So you know what I mean? Like just examine what's happening and see what's going on with that. And that should be kind of honestly it, right? But like, yeah, fuck these three specifically. Like fuck the kid a little bit too, but like obviously not really, but like, yeah, like for doing that, but also like 13, like teenagers do shit like that all the time. I'll be honest. If I was like 14 still, and I was like in this situation, I would have done the same fucking thing. And I was cis back then, right? So like, think about it. It wouldn't even be a trans thing. It would just be like, hey, I'm 14, and this sounds funny in my head, right? So that's another reason like why girls are uncomfortable with it, by the way, because they kind of understand how boys act, and that's a thing boys would do. Like, that's why like women are like upset about like being raped in bathrooms, even with like trans adults. Like, sure, most of them probably wouldn't do that, but some of them would, right? And sometimes it's just dudes who literally would just go in there to rape people, right? So you gotta think like like you need to think, right, about like who you're talking about and what the issue is, because sometimes the issue might not necessarily be that bad, and sometimes it might be worse than you're thinking. And so if you think and you conversate about it, you can probably find out, like, okay, so the trans bathroom, like for adult stuff, a gender neutral bathroom would solve like that, right? And same with the school stuff, right? But then if it gets to the point where they're like, oh, well, that what doesn't solve it, well, then fuck them specifically. Like, yeah, if the boy wants to, if the biological male wants to use the girls' locker room, right, and they say he shouldn't be allowed, like she shouldn't be allowed to, I'll use the reprint. They're saying she shouldn't be allowed to, then yeah, she shouldn't be allowed to, right? Like, it's uncomfortable for the majority. And there's a room that already designed, Like, just go there,
Just keeps happening.
And the other thing, right? Because here's the benefit of, like, it being their own room, right? If people follow them in there, then they're the bad guys, right? If they follow them in there to bully them, they're the bad guys then. So avoid the confrontation, and then if they do follow them in there, because maybe the girls are the ones being the shitty ones instead of the trans, right? In that case, they're the bad ones, right? Because that's the whole best part about this, right? If all the trans people use gender neutral bathroom, right? One at a time, right? And someone follows one of them in there, they're the bad guy there, right? If they start bullying and stuff, right? Because that's their space now, right? You went into their space and started fucking shit up. See, that's the best part about having your own space, is now you have, like, as long as you don't enter other spaces, right? You have the right of way, right? This is the best part about, like, why this conversation is stupid, because they have a place where they would have the right of way, right? Because the most important reason why you would like want to avoid that in the first place is to avoid bullying or whatever, right? Well, if someone bullies you in your own little space, they're the bad guys, right? It's only if right? It's only if you go to their space first where you might be the bad guy. So just go to your own space. You have one. Use it. Right? Because that's the thing. Like, Asmongold is like saying, like, yeah, why is there like one or two people controlling the whole conversation? And I'm like, they aren't even really like controlling it well, because they could just go to another one, and then they would dominate the conversation rightly, because it would be their own space designated to them, and that people would be invading. So like, this is ultimately the thing, right? If there is a case where they would have the right of way, they would also have, it be like a separate space purely to avoid confrontation to begin with. Then if any confrontation happens, the confrontator is the bad guy. But in here, the confrontator isn't the bad guy, because you're purposely, because you're the confrontator. Actually, you are the bad guy because you're the confrontator. But like, you're going into a space that you don't have to go to, which you know is going to cause drama, instead of just avoiding it like a normal fucking person. Yeah, the trans girl should just fucking go in the gender neutral bathroom. It's that simple. And that's the thing. I don't even know if they are a trans girl. It says boy here, right? And it might be like like misgender from the newspaper, but is it? We don't even know, right? They're saying they're trans, but are they, right? Like, are they doing that as a defense in the last minute? Or have they been identifying as a girl before they started doing this? Because that's another thing. We don't know. If they started doing it last minute, then that's just a defense. Right? They're just doing that to fuck and break the rules.
Always middle-aged white women.
And like, always like middle like school kids, right? It's always like anything like that's fucked up that like people do that like shouldn't be done. It's almost always involving middle school like dudes and Karens. Like almost all the time, not all the time, but almost.
You've got a long to-do list. Thankfully, you
it needs to
have
stop.
DoorDash, and top-rated shoppers will deliver groceries right to your door as if you picked them all yourself.
It needs to stop being fucking enabled. Also, that is a funny face.
Yeah, I agree. And let's see here. This is sexual assault, and by the boy and the school administration. What they need to do is they need to find out the people that did this, if it were these people that forced them to do it, and they need to be tried federally for sex crimes.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't think about the boy, because did they assault anyone, or did they just invade the space? You can call it harassment if they just invaded the space, but assault would require them to like actively like try to touch them or something, right? Harassment doesn't necessarily require physical like harm. You could still call it sexual harassment, but like I don't think that would really affect like someone their age that bad, is the thing. But the teachers and administration, absolutely, and they do need to be charged.
You don't deal with this with a scalpel, you deal with it with a hammer. Mm-hmm. You are aggressive, brutal, you set an example, and that stops it. Fire them and charge them. Why not both? Oh yeah, of course both. Right, but what I'm saying is that nothing like this really, and these are all metaphors, by the way. I would never advocate for violence in any circumstance. And this is just simply, this is what I think the judicial system should do. You mean a gavel? Yes, the gavel. I like that. That's
Here we go. Instead of the scalpel, use a gavel. There we go.
Better metaphor. You talked about the greater good. The greater good is a father and a mother. Are there outliers? Yes, but we shouldn't treat them as the norm. You're right that they're outliers. And that's why people who file for adoption usually have to file out paperwork and figure out, and make sure that that's what happens. Yeah, and that they're not random weird people. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like a very strong opinion about this, but yeah. Do you think transgenderism is a big pharma psyop? No, I don't think so. Let's see here. Illinois State, they have a law protects transgender students in the bathroom, girls' locker room. They have multiple organizations represent transgender students. Where these organizations get their funding. Transgender parents says a good option for other women's kids if they make arrangement for other girls. If they don't make arrangements, they're not included anymore. Anytime they move. Yeah, exactly, right? And
yeah, like, there's definitely, like, things where it's, like, very much, like, fine. And then there's ones where it's, like, not fine, you know? Like, if it's, like, they have the option to avoid confrontation, that's great. But then also avoid the confrontation. You know, if them using the bathroom that they prefer, of the gender they prefer, is causing confrontation, then just use the gender neutral one, right?
And let me get straight. Teachers force young girls to undress in front of a boy while they watched. Yeah. I feel like that right there.
Yeah, that ultimately is the issue here, right? It's the Karens really there that committed the crime. The boy is probably like just a 13-year-old boy. I'm being honest, it's probably just like, okay, I'm like, they're allowing this to happen. It's funny as fuck to me, right? I'm 13 years old. It's funny as fuck to me, right? And then like the parent probably like the parent. I don't think this is the parent, right? So it's probably a different parent. So. You know, like the parent might not even like really even like be the one enabling either, right? In fact, I don't even know if the kid is trans. We don't really know that from what I've seen. Like they say it is that they are, but are they? Are they saying they are last minute, or is there like documented like the history of this, right? Because there's documented history of it, then sure, but it's probably like it's not even like a trans kid. It's like a little, like it's probably like a literal little boy who's doing it to get away with the stupid shit that he's doing, right? And I know because little boys did that all the time when I was growing up. We didn't do that specifically, but we did dumb shit all the time, you know, like that.
I think there should be some accountability for this.
It's sort of like the furry things, like in schools. Like, yeah, absolutely. There's always been furries in schools, but like having fetish gear and stuff like that needs to stop. I don't think it's a big thing. I think like most of them are fairly small minorities, right? But it needs to stop. Regardless, like it's not the amount; it's that it happens at all, right? It's sort of like when people say like, oh, per capita with like the priest thing, right? It's not that it happened in like more than like other groups. It's that it happened at all, right? Like especially with the preacher being a pedo, right? Like those are people who are supposed to be speaking for God, having the least godly behavior out of humanly possible, right? In their own congregation and churches half the time. You know, like at that point, like there's a reason why it's unacceptable, and it passed that like long ago, right? Like that it even happened once, right? Because that's just like extremely sacrilegious too, right? Like that. Like I feel like people don't even really get like the reason why like pedo preacher is like such a big like term that exists, right? The reason why that's such a fucking like bad like thing for the church is look to even have one, not even to have like like less but still a lot, but even having one is because of how fucking like pathetic, hypocritical, and dangerous that is. That it happened once, right? Like you always say it, right? A gay bar having a pedophile in it is bad. But they aren't Christian. They aren't pretending to be, like, you know what I mean? But when it's a person in a church, it's a little worse, you know? It's just really kind of how it goes, you know?
Yeah, it's really simple. And there has to be personal criminal accountability. That's what I advocate for. Personal criminal accountability that is as draconian as possible. Set an example, and that way nobody will do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. There needs to be an example set there. I mean, I do find it funny though. It's always like middle-aged white women.
Have you ever run a background check on yourself? Oh, that's so crazy. What else is on here? The moment
Middle-aged white women being stupid. It's always like the dumbest shit, you know? Anyway, see ya.